Man, y'all really blew up the first Joji video. Everyone give yourselves a round of applause. There were a lot of lines that didn't make the cut for that video because I was doing like a top 10 format at the time. And y'all also left a lot of comments about, lines that I overlooked or even changed my mind about. Some lines I thought weren't that deep, but actually are deep. Because with Joji, some lines are very direct and it's pretty obvious what they mean, and others are like riddles that you need to figure out. He has a quote from his Spotify Rise session. Apparently it's all very from the heart. Everything instrumental is how I feel. Everything lyrically is how I feel, but not exactly. The stories that are happening are not really related to me. They're not autobiographical, but they are how I'm feeling. So you can't take his lyrics like a lot of rap lyrics where it's very literal, like I'm saying the life I'm living. Sometimes not even. But he's like shifting between different points of view, different, storytelling devices, really capturing these emotions through vignettes. And I think I'm in a place where I can do them justice. I've grown older and wiser, so has my production value. So without further ado, this is Joji's Saddest Lyrics 2. Act 1, Falling in Love. Tell me more, I got a box cutter with your name on it. Tell me more, I can't stay this long on the same topic. I don't know you, but would I fall in love with you? I don't have no social cues, I'm all for you. So this song is all about how love at first sight is foolish. Joji is singing from the point of view of someone who is falling head over heels for someone that they just met. I don't know if you can relate to that, but I used to crush really easily. It was kind of embarrassing. So when he says I don't have no social cues, like dude, like I was like 5 years behind everyone else socially when I was growing up. Actually up until, I don't know, maybe even now. No one really tells me if I'm there or not. And I wanted to touch on the box cutter line because a lot of people, and by a lot I mean 3, commented on that, right? Because my interpretation was that content warning. The box cutter line is about self-harm, like you're threatening self-harm because this person's not into you. Someone took that a little bit further and said that loving this person is like slitting your own wrist. And yeah, but there was also an optimistic interpretation that I don't know why I didn't immediately think of this, but someone said, I always assumed it was about him wanting to move in with the other person. And at first when I read that, I was like, what a nice way of looking at it. It actually makes a lot of sense within the narrative of the song where he fell in love with this person at first sight. He wants to like speed run this relationship. So it makes a lot of sense that the box cutter is literally for cutting boxes, when in most songs that's not the case, and I think that's where I was speaking from. So the only thing I'll say is that earlier in the song he says a line, if I can't have you, no one can, which muddies the waters a little bit. It makes it more open to interpretation where it's almost like a glass half full. It's almost like a test of whether you see the glass half empty or half full. The Joji version is, how do you read this box cutter line? Let me know in the comments below. I've been missing a long time to know I had to move. Wow. These lines confused me for the longest time because when I heard them, I knew I could feel something inside, like just everything in the way he says it and his whole delivery of that line. But at the same time, whenever I looked at the lyrics, I'm like, I've been missing a long time to know I had to move. Like, missing from what? Moving on from what? I think I was overthinking it. It's literally like, I've been missing. Like, I've been feeling out of it. And what he's moving on from is literally just that, moving on to being there, really being present in his life. And it's kind of hard to describe, but if you've ever dealt with depression, it's like you feel like you're missing from your own life a little bit. So it's almost like these lines were resonating with my subconscious, but my conscious brain didn't fully understand or process why. I've been waiting my whole life to know I wanted you. Are you feeling me slowly? You can take your effing time. Honestly, that's how I feel about YouTube sometimes. I just really love the bite in that line, like when you're feeling impatient because you're really into someone, but they don't quite feel the same way about you yet. I don't know, like, people are free to do whatever they want in life. Like, no one owes you anything. So if you like someone but they're not really feeling you back, just, you know, it is what it is. I don't want to waste my time if I can't be by your side. I didn't want to pick this line in my first video because, building off what we're saying earlier, that's a kind of toxic attitude, that you feel someone owes you something. In the Genius annotation, Joji says himself that males are very impatient. You know, there's a mindset of a lot of males in any scenario when they're talking to a girl. They'll say anything they want to get a nut going. And again, I can totally relate to that feeling of this one-sided crush. But what I've learned since then, having been in relationships, is that it's more about whether y'all two are a match and not about just, you know, this milestone of I am now in a relationship. So let's pick a different part of the song instead. And if the stars collide, will she relieve my soul? And when we feel alive, I know she'll let me go. When you read my lips, I know you feel all cold. But I promise you, my heart is made of gold. It's pretty incredible how in just one line, and when we feel alive, I know she'll let me go, you get a sense of this entire relationship, that they're only together as like mutual comfort while they're both not in a good place, and knowing that the relationship's gonna end the moment they both get back on their feet. I found it pretty relatable that when he says, I promise you my heart is made of gold, that's honestly how it feels trying to make friends when you're depressed. He's self-aware that in his current state, it's kind of hard to see his inner goodness and really get the full experience of who he is as a person, and almost begging the other person like, hey, there's more to me that you can't see right now, but you know, like, how are they supposed to trust that? Lately, I can't help but think that our roads might take us down different phases. Don't want to complicate the rhythm we've got, but I'm speechless. When everything's so pure, can it be aimless, painless? Like You Do is probably Joji's only real love song. And if we're being honest, I cut it from the last video because at the time I was thinking like, oh, these are going to be the top Joji lines, not like entire passages or, you know. But then in my weekend video, I did an entire long ass hook as one of the lyrics. So, I'm freed of my shackles. Here, he's really talking about trying to enjoy a relationship, even though y'all both feel that you're gonna head down different paths, you know, it's a temporary thing. And in my experience, it's a really difficult thing to do because y'all both have to opt into it, you know, to go along with it and not get too attached almost, knowing that there's a ticking timer, you know, a countdown before things are over. In my last year of school, I met this person and we were really into each other, but it was literally the last semester of my last year. So yeah, there was no future in it. And she was actually the one who cut it off and not me. And looking back, she was way more mature and just like on top of things emotionally than I was at that time. I think that's true of most women at any age, you know, they're like 5 to 10 years ahead of the males. Lost in the blue, they don't love me like you do. Those chills that I knew, they were nothing without you. And everyone else, they don't matter now. You're the one I can't lose. No one loves me like you do. A very eloquent passage about love. I honestly don't have much to add other than that they don't love me like you do. I think speaks a little bit to this love, this true love he has with this partner. It's just on a completely different plane than love you might get from fans or, you know, just any kind of like validation, because there's no real substitute for having people in your life that really care about you. Since I met you, all the gloomy days just seem to shine a little more brightly. Consider what we've got, because I can never take you for granted. Is there another us on this whole planet? I'm just doing this entire song at this point. If you ever go, all the songs that we like will sound like bittersweet lullabies. Anyone who's gone through a breakup knows this feeling, right? It's like y'all have a song and then after the relationship is over, that song kind of doesn't hit the same. And for me, that song is Sweater Weather. If you have a song like that, I'd love to know what it is. Leave a comment below. Yeah, but it's striking that even while he's in this relationship, you know, again, this is his one like only love song, it still crosses his mind that, you know, what if we fall apart? Which brings us to Act 2, falling apart. Give me reasons we should be complete. You should be with him, I can't compete. You looked at me like I was someone else. Oh well. Can't you see? I don't want to slow dance in the dark. I feel like most people hear these lines and they interpret you looked at me like I was someone else, like she literally saw someone else, either because, I don't know, she's more into this other guy or, you know, whatever. I actually don't think that's the case. I think what he actually means is that she's looking at him like someone he isn't, you know, that she has this image of him that he can't live up to. And it makes sense because this whole song, he's begging this person like, I'm not the person you think I am, like cast me to the side, you know, stop loving me. Which is telling because normally you don't need to tell someone that, you just break up with them. But you know, the implication is that Joji wants this person to leave him, but he doesn't want to leave her, you know, like maybe he doesn't feel strong enough to leave her, or maybe, you know, he wants that emotional support, but deep down he knows what's for the best, he just doesn't have the strength to do it. Look into your heart and let me know, do things turn black and gray as they go? When I'm too far gone, can you show me love? Give me love. I really like the color imagery in these lines, like imagining your emotional scenery becoming darker and darker as you go. And I think it's open to interpretation whether he's talking about this relationship or life in general, but regardless, he's spiraling here and pleading for help, you know, give me love. To pull me back to the surface. So tenderly you watch me burn, you watch me burn. So tell me, am I crazy? In this song, his partner isn't reaching out to pull him back to the surface. He's spiraling and they're just watching him. And it's almost raising a question of like, who's the crazy one, right? The person who's spiraling or the enabler of that? Baby, can you be a little bit stronger? Baby, cause I need a little longer. You're an earthly comfort, yet so divine. I never see you anymore. In movies, you always see these crumbling relationships and it's like, oh, give me one more chance, I can turn it all around. But in real life, it doesn't work out because if y'all were the type of people to naturally nurture your relationship and not let it get into that place, y'all wouldn't be in that place. And unless there's some like extreme circumstances going on, most likely y'all just aren't as compatible as you wish you were. Like I was saying earlier, it's not about finding a person. It's about finding the right person for you. You know, every two people in this world, they have some compatibility percentage. And for some people, maybe you can make it like 2 to 3 years on 50%, but you're probably not going to last long term unless it's more like, you know, 80, 90. And by compatibility, I don't mean like surface level things like, oh, we both like chocolate, or I don't know, we have the same hobbies. What I mean is that y'all are aligned on the deeper, fundamental, you know, big picture stuff in life. Things like, you know, is the way that you like to express love the same as how that person likes to receive love? There's a whole concept of love languages that I'm sure we all know by now, but just in case you don't, right? That's what it is. Do both of y'all want the same things in life? Or, you know, like things like family, career, whatever? Like, are y'all headed in roughly the same direction, or at least compatible directions? Things like morality and ethics and how y'all see the world. You're always going to see these stories that are like, oh, we're so different, but we make it work. And good for them, but that's the 1% case. Most of us live in the 99% case, and that's just not as, you know, newsworthy. Quick intermission, let's read some of the comments from the last video. You should become a hand model, your hands look real good, man. I'm not used to people talking about my appearance. It's not something that I've really had to deal with, unlike every single woman on the internet. My favorite line from Joji was on track RAP. I see this person has the same interpretation of lying that I do. There's no more time, just lay it on me. If I lost my life, you can blame it on me. Are you ready or not? We can start right here. Take you on them rocks. So crystal clear. And I think it's valid, you know, these are some great lines. But the second part, when he's talking about this passage, me and you and I would die for you, do or die for you, suicide for you, RIP, I would die for you, RIP, I would die for you. I'm not gonna lie, man, I think it's a reach to say those lines are super profound or anything. Is like, if anything, it's more about the emotion in those lines than about the actual lyrics, because the lyrics are saying the same thing, you know, with not much variation. 8 different times. 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, sorry, 6. This is actually so well made, bro. Thanks. Maybe add some background music when you talk. I read every single comment, y'all. Like, you see how that comment has upped my production value by so much. Even if you don't have something super deep or meaningful to add, it really means a lot to me and any creator when you let us know that you enjoyed something. Do you have a lisp? Yeah, I've been practicing. Yeah, I've been practicing it. Thanks for noticing. When I saw this, I immediately assumed that they meant it in a mean-spirited way. So I put my snark wall up as self-defense, because as the creator, you know, it doesn't look cool if you get dunked on. Like, that's not a good look. But I wanted to just acknowledge that that was something that happened inside of me, you know, this knee-jerk reaction that came up. I feel like there are a lot of social interactions in my life, and maybe in yours, where that happens, right? Like, you assume someone's being mean to you when they maybe just chose the wrong words. So then you kind of go into attack mode, and then the whole interaction turns kind of sour when it really didn't need to. But yeah, when I was a little kid, you know, in elementary school, primary school, if you're elsewhere, I was sent to work with a speech therapist. I don't know if it helped at all. And I used to be very insecure about it. You know, there was even one time where this kid that I knew, I thought he was a cool kid, and they were like teasing me like, oh, hey, say the word sit. Man, the extra emphasis I put on that. And I said it, you know, little old me at that time, I said it, and they're like, ha ha ha, you said a bad word. And now I kind of understand, like, you know, if someone's the kind of person to make fun of someone for something that they were born with or they can't change, you know, it's like out of their control, it's kind of messed up, you know. And that person is I don't want to say they're messed up people, but they haven't really developed that empathy. And that's how I feel when I sometimes read comments about that, and before I delete it, I kind of think to myself like, damn, like, this person emotionally hasn't hit that point of maturity. So I feel bad that I assumed that they were being mean, because for all I know, they could have been someone else who did have a lisp, and they thought it was cool that, you know, there's someone out there on YouTube who understood how they felt. He didn't write most to all of Nectar. Cool. Man, I really feel bad about this one, and I'll tell you why. It's kind of like before when I was saying, like, as a creator, not wanting to look like you got dunked on. So sometimes you have the knee-jerk reaction of preemptively dunking on people before they can dunk on you. I feel bad about this. I mean, he even deleted some of his replies to different comments, so that's why the thread doesn't look complete. But most likely, it wasn't his intention to be all snarky about it. He's just pointing something out that, you know, he knew. And that's the thing, we tend to project our own insecurities onto other people in how we interpret, you know, the things they say. If you like this new format where we go topic by topic and unpack what the artist has to say about each one, you're gonna like my weekend video. I'm just putting it out there. It's about taking the weekend less like a real person and more as a character in like a TV show. It's a lot of fun. It may very well be my best video. We'll see how this one comes out in editing. And yeah, I really think y'all would like it. Anyways, if you're feeling this so far, leave a like, sub to the channel if you want more, and let's get back into it. All right, Act 3. Moving on. The devil came back. He's dancing in your path. So you're acting like you need me now. So tell me if I'm mad. There's something in your laugh that makes me fear the way you smile. This song is about a really complicated relationship. It's like they're no longer together, but they got this love-hate thing going on where they're kind of like pushing and pulling at the same time. I feel like I've said that in a different video. And in the hook, he's like, let's just pretend like we're normal people, right? Like we don't have this whole messy thing going on. And that ends up being like escapism. It's hard to believe sometimes. We can pretend we're normal people. And I can repeat those times. We can pretend we're boring people. Joji is treating their pretending that they're normal and boring. That's like his escape from his reality almost. Once in a while, I'm digging through the scars that we failed to heal. When a point of friction comes up in the relationship and y'all can tell like you're not on the same page on something, y'all gotta resolve that right away. All the things you don't resolve immediately, those little knots end up building up into this big ol' like knot ball. and it just blows up on y'all at one point. Not to get too deep on y'all, but this applies not just to relationships, but also to yourself. Like, when things happen to you, it leaves something behind. It's not just like, oh, I moved on, I don't think about it, so, you know, I'm good. It's like it never happened. One time when I was younger, I was working this dumb little job that, you know, I didn't really care about, but I got fired out of the blue just without any warning. And even though it wasn't that important of a job in the grand scheme of things, it kind of scarred me to the point where every job after that, I had a constant fear of being fired like randomly without any warning or anybody saying like, oh, you got to step it up in this department. Like, but yeah, that's something I have to live with forever. And you can try to push the stuff down and, you know, again, like out of sight, out of mind, but it will eventually, you know, come back up. That's how you grow as a person. You have to face these knots and untie them one by one. The messed up thing is that even when you've like worked through some of this stuff, you're not gonna be like you were before that thing happened. And here's the thing, it applies to every single person. So the things you do could potentially leave that dent on someone else. Just food for thought, man. Like, when we get poked, it's a very natural response to kind of withdraw into our shell. Which brings us to Act 4, isolation. I find it hard to be myself. I shed my skin for everybody else. A lot of y'all commented this. I didn't talk about it because I thought it was really straightforward. There's not much to unpack, and I still think that, so let's move on. Oh really? You don't notice that I'm ugly? They don't know I'm not afloat. I don't think these lines are literally about being ugly. I mean, Joji's a pretty good looking guy. To me, he's talking about feeling ugly on the inside. And when you listen to the entire song, that's what it's about. You know, feeling different from everyone else. You're not tethered to the same kind of rock that everyone else is. I'm sure that's something a lot of us can relate to, you know, not fitting in. And one response to that might be isolating yourself. And I keep to myself, F with no one else. And I know it's my fault, but I don't care. And I keep to myself, who are you to pretend? And I know it's my fault, it will never end. But that isolation, it can come at a cost of the relationships that you do have. Because relationships are really self-reinforcing. Like, the more you put into it, the better it gets. And the less you put into it, the worse it gets. There's a lot of advice out there these days about, oh, you gotta cut off all the bad vibes, you know, these relationships that aren't serving you, just, you know, drop them. And I think that's true to an extent, but you can't be too extreme about it, because relationships are like anything. You need to water them so they can grow, and sometimes you need to push past, like, and work through. I think work through is a better way to describe it than push past. That kind of implies like just ignoring the issues. Work through the issues to get to a more bountiful other side. That was the case for one of my best friends. We had this period where we were texting each other, and for some reason the text would always like turn kind of confrontational, and what it took was for us to just hang out in real life again at some point, and just to get back on the same page. And it turns out my homie had kind of been in like a high stress, like bad time in his life, and if I just cut it off without making that attempt, I think I'd be missing out on one of the best and most supportive relationships I have. I know when the wind blows. Wind blows. Feels better in my dreams though. Dreams though. I just want to sleep forever. Please just let me leave forever. I didn't include this in the first one because it's kind of heavy and I felt like I wasn't ready to talk about this, but let's talk about it. Content warning. When I was depressed, and I don't know if this is everyone's experience, but for me, being asleep felt better than being awake. Honestly, in that period, like, I wasn't scared of death, because I was like, oh man, if I could just go to sleep and just never wake up, like, that would be pretty nice, is how I felt at the time. Yeah, like, these lines, I've never heard a song speak to the experience of being depressed as well as this one. And it's deceptive because it's kind of like a chill, you know, vibey song, but the lyrics are certainly not that. And if that's something that you really feel in this very moment, I would recommend trying to get help if that's possible. Because I was fortunate enough to have a therapist that was affordable at the time. And I don't know if I would have gotten out of it, you know, without him. With my hands in the ocean, I pray. I want to read this comment from Alice. My first tattoo ever was Joji lyrics. I've been there so many times, sitting in the ocean, just watching the waves, hoping that my life was going somewhere better. It's a powerful image, and for me, getting out of depression or just a general rut in my life, it doesn't have to be that low. It's about finding the little things in life that make you happy and doing them on a consistent basis. Ideally, you set them up as daily routines, and they end up being these little lanterns that light your way forward. Because even though we love Joji for helping us tap into our feelings, we still need that hope that things are gonna get better, that there's a light in the distance. And from this passage, Joji does too. Not gonna lie, I really poured my heart into this one, and I hope you can tell. It honestly takes something out of me to tap into this space, so if you don't mind, the next one's gonna be a little lighter. Don't worry though, I haven't forgotten about the poll. I know y'all want Frank Ocean. It's gonna come, you just gotta be patient. If you made this far, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. If anything I said really resonated with you, please let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. Maybe we've even built up a trust where you feel like ringing that little bell. Shout out to all my real ones, and I'll see you next time.